I'm going to talk about the top 5 worst foods for your heart after 60. But it's important to know that even if you under 60, these are foods you should probably avoid because they do damage in your heart. So just because we talking about people over 60 doesn't mean that you can't relate to this, okay? One of the things about these foods is that they do make you feel bad when you eat them. You don't get heartburn. Your stomach doesn't turn on you. There's no bloating or gas. They are what I call quiet foods. They quietly hurt your heart. And many of these foods are very common, so you need to be aware of them. Okay, let's start with the first one, which is sugar. And I'm not talking about eating dessert, okay? That's a given. And we all know that we shouldn't have too much dessert, but it goes beyond that. It's the hidden sugars. For example, ketchup has sugar. Most barbecue sauce has sugar. A lot of salad dressings have sugar. So when you're eating your food, whether it's a burger and fries or a chicken Caesar salad, you're getting hits of sugar throughout the meal, and sugar is very hard on the heart. What sugar does is it creates inflammation in the inside layer of your heart, okay? It creates a condition called endothelial dysfunction, and this is very serious. This is actually the first stage of heart disease. So if you're trying to prevent heart disease or you already have heart disease, reducing sugar intake is really important. Now, there's 2 types of diets that are very effective at reducing sugar. One is the carnivore diet, right? If you're eating meat, you're not going to be exposed to sugar unless you put sugar on your meat, but most people don't. And then the other diet that's excellent at keeping your sugar low is a low-carb diet like keto. So if you're eating lots of vegetables, you're going to get exposed to some sugar. Now that's not a problem if you're just eating vegetables, but if you're also having breads and pasta and cereal and biscuits and crackers, you're going to get a massive spike in your blood sugar, which is going to create massive amounts of stress on your heart. Alright, no 2 is seed oils. These are highly processed vegetable oils like corn oil, canola, cottonseed oil, peanut oil, sunflower oil. These are the most deadly oils on the planet, okay? And there's been many studies, they've been lumped together, showing that people who consume these seed oils are at increased risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. It's very important that you stop consuming these oils. The way that you're mainly exposed to these oils is through fried foods, deep fried foods. You go to McDonald's and you order French fries. They fry their French fries in these seed oils. Also, any kind of fried chicken that you buy at a fast food restaurant is going to be cooked in these seed oils. Seed oils have a very high smoke point, so you can cook them at very high temperatures without them burning, and they stay stable up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So they're great for deep frying. So when you eat these, you're getting a massive amount of omega-6 fatty acids, which creates inflammation in your heart. You're also getting a massive amount of linoleic acid, which also creates inflammation in your heart. So if you eat enough of these seed oils, and it doesn't take much, just a little bit every day will do it. It will greatly increase your risk of having a heart attack or a stroke. So be very careful with these oils. 3 is alcohol. So if you have 1 drink a day, you're good, right? I mean, everybody knows that 1 drink a day is fine. And you may be thinking, well, I have more than 1 drink a day. Well, that's not good. But it's really not about the amount of alcohol you're having. It's really about the damage that it does to your heart. And here's the thing. When you have even 1 drink a day, you're increasing your risk of having a stroke by 30%. So if you have 1 drink a day, you're 30 more likely to have a stroke. Now, the more alcohol you have, the higher the risk gets, but it only takes 1. So how does alcohol cause this damage? Well, when you consume alcohol, you're exposing your body to a toxin. Okay, and your liver has to work overtime to detoxify this alcohol. And as you drink more and more alcohol, your liver becomes less and less efficient at detoxifying this alcohol. And so you start getting a buildup of this alcohol in your blood, and it starts to affect your heart in many different ways. One of the things it does, it lowers your blood pressure, okay? It actually weakens the heart muscle. It creates an electrical problem with the heart, and it increases your risk of atrial fibrillation. It also creates a thiamine deficiency, which causes more problems with your heart. So you want to avoid alcohol. Even 1 drink a day is too much. The 4th food that you need to avoid is dairy. Now, dairy products are very high in saturated fat. In fact, they're one of the highest sources of saturated fat. If you look at butter, for example, which is almost 100% saturated fat, that's like 52 grams of saturated fat per ounce. Let's compare that to beef. Beef is like 9 grams of saturated fat per ounce. So dairy products are 6 times higher in saturated fat than beef. And then when you add the hormones and the antibiotics and the pus from the infected udders of these cows, it makes it even worse. So what happens when you eat dairy products? You get a massive spike in IGF-1, which is a growth hormone. This hormone stimulates growth of the inside layer of your heart, which is very dangerous. And it also creates inflammation in your heart. So the people who have the highest risk of getting heart attacks are people who consume dairy products, especially cheese, butter, and whole milk. And the 5th one is trans fats. Trans fats are created when you expose an unsaturated fat, like an omega-6 fatty acid, to heat, oxygen, and light. It creates a chemical reaction, and it changes the configuration of the fat from a cis fat to a trans fat. And this trans fat is very, very harmful. You can naturally create some trans fat, like if you consume a lot of beef tallow, but mainly you're getting this from processed foods. Like if you have a pastry or a pie, okay? Or something that's been fried, you're going to be exposed to trans fats. But this is why partially hydrogenated oils exist. Because you can expose an oil to hydrogen, and you can change the configuration of those double bonds to make them more stable. So trans fats are more stable at high heats. So they're used in a lot of commercial cooking. So trans fats are very inflammatory to your heart. They increase your risk of heart disease and stroke. And I would really avoid foods that have partially hydrogenated oils. Just read the ingredients. If it says partially hydrogenated oil, don't consume that food. Alright, there you have the 5 worst foods for your heart. And the best way to summarize this is that you need to eat real foods, okay? Don't eat anything that comes out of a package, anything that has more than 5 ingredients, and definitely avoid seed oils, sugar, and alcohol, because they are the 3 biggest culprits for causing damage to your heart. Now, since we're on the topic of your heart, you haven't seen this video on the top 6 vitamins to strengthen your heart, you should check it out. I put it up right here.